Diana is an internationally sought-after dating coach and relationship expert specializing in helping men and women find and keep relationships with someone who they once thought was out of their league. Ooh, I love this. I love this. Diana is nicknamed by her clients as the female Hitch. Ooh, wow. I am excited. Diana, are you ready to come on?
I am ready.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. We're bringing you on right now. You are live on the air. Thank you so much for being on today, taking time out of your schedule and just being here to share value about dating and relationships and conversations. Thank you for being on. So tell us a little bit more about your story and where you came from and how you got into the industry and just get people present to who you are and what you're all about.
So my story is long, but the short-ish version is that I actually saved a girl's life when I was 10 from suicide. A friend of a friend had reached out to me and said that she was really worried about this girl. She just lost her mother. And so I got on the phone with her. We talked for a few hours. I had no idea if I was helping her naturally at 10. And she said at the end of the conversation that she was planning on killing herself after our phone call. And she basically said, I really hope this is something that you do with the rest of your life. And it didn't really impact me much then. I don't think I really understood, the gravity of all of that. But as I grew up, I did. And I really went down that path. I mean, I went to undergrad for psychology, grad school for psychotherapy, and started a life coaching business. And I first just kind of was helping people in general because I really wanted to see where I naturally fell. In terms of what my what my passion really was, like where I was directed. And it was always dating and relationships, whether they were in one or wanted to be in one. That was kind of where I always pulled from. So that's kind of how it came about. It's a longer story than that, but that's the short version.
Wow. That's awesome. And did you find it was difficult to go through all this schooling, or did you have a big vision when you were going through it that kept you driven, or how was that process like?
Sure. So with undergrad, I don't think I really knew what I wanted to do. Psychology really interested me because I love people and what they do. I love that that's the biggest thing of water I've ever seen.
Gallon hydration.
You are too, about just like taking that huge thing. So, I think that, when I went to undergrad, I just was interested in people. That was kind of all I could say. But then when I went to grad school, I was a little bit older and I realized that I really wanted to have my own practice. So originally I went for couples and sex therapy, and then I kind of veered a little bit away from that. So that's really obviously been a passion of mine for a while, and one that I kind of wanted to kick a little bit because I just wasn't sure if it's a lot. It's taxing, it's challenging, and I just wasn't sure, but it just kept nagging at me, and I love what I do so much. So.
Wow. And then, so where are you today in terms of this coaching? I know you mentioned, or I know that you coach men, right?
So this is what's interesting. So I started working with men. I had some female clients too, but mostly men. And I really wanted to niche down and work solely with men, which was generally what I was doing. I had someone sneak in there, just one-on-one. But generally speaking, digitally and all that, I work with men, and I love it so much. It's about really giving the sort of sweeter, not necessarily even shyer, but the sweet guy who really wants to be in a relationship a chance because he kind of can't get out of his own way. So a lot of what I do is based on confidence, right? So that's a lot of the work that we do is a lot of mindset work, a lot of confidence. And I kind of got a pull from so many females that reached out to me. And at first I was like, no, I just like here and there by referral, I'll work with a woman. But I kind of kept getting it. I am a woman. I had difficulty dating myself. So I kind of feel that like pull to help women. So I'm sort of slowly integrating women where it will be on the same par, across the board. So I'm working on that now.
Very cool. And then you mentioned that men who are in their own way, right? Who maybe aren't very confident. Is there any more specifics about like the type of results that you produce for them, or what people could expect when they work with you in that aspect?
Sure. So I kind of go through a series of, regardless of if someone works with me, I kind of go through a series of work together. So whatever we do in whatever capacity, whether it's email, even I have like an email, exclusive program. So that's something that I'll do with one-on-one video sessions, with group programs. I have a bunch of, different offers, depending on kind of where someone's at, how much support they want, et cetera. But it still will really give the same, sort of general outline. So I typically start with mindset and confidence, like number one. And I'm actually dealing with that throughout. So even though I'm sort of moving along, kind of the chain of my agenda, we're still always going back to that because everyone needs it, regardless of sort of where you're at. And some guys, obviously, and women too, are going to be more confident, some less so at the beginning. So sometimes like we're not even talking about dating initially. We're like, no, we're going to shelve that for a second. Like we need to get you up to speed because if not, like you won't even go up to a woman. Like if you don't have confidence at all, and there's some guys that are so shy that have never had a girlfriend, have never really approached women, I'm not going to throw them in with the sharks. They're just not going to survive, right? So I do mindset first, and depends on sort of how long I feel like we need to stay there. And then I typically will go into approach and meeting, those people because I want to get the guys out there. And even if they're failing a little bit, and sometimes we stumble, right? So that can happen when you're kind of learning and implementing the strategies and the tools and kind of getting yourself through. Like I almost want you in some ways to fail because I want to see what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong. And you're going to get both of that when you're starting something kind of new, right? And then they come back to me and we analyze like what went well, what went wrong. Let's talk about it. I do a lot of mock approaching and mock dating with my clients, especially one-on-one clients, which is one of my favorite things to do. Yeah. So just for your listeners who don't know, so that would be like you and I, for example, where, I'm the girl, you're the guy, and we're pretending to go on a date like right now. Like we're at a bar, so you're approaching me, or we're on a date, we're on a 5th date, we're on a 12th date. It doesn't really matter, right? But we'll set it up, like we'll frame it together. I'm at a bookstore, wherever we are, because approach will be slightly different in terms of like where we are, the day, the time of day, et cetera. So it's a really fun thing to do, and for them to feel comfortable about it. A lot of people, and I think women should be approaching more men. That's definitely something, partially why I have that drive to be working with women, because I do think there needs to be more of that, because women say all the time, I hate the guys that are coming up to me, like they're just not the right guys for me. They kind of seems like, douchebags. It's like, well, then take matters into your own hands and go up to the guy that you want to go up to make your success that night better than if you're going home alone and you're just like not happy about it, right? Yeah. So there's something to be said for that. But I find the more that I do this work, and it's been a couple of years now, but the more that I do it, I realize that the number one thing that men and women are looking for in each other is confidence, hands down. Yet that's the one thing that all of us lack the most. Yep. So, you know what I mean? So I see that there's like a huge disconnect there between what we really want and what we really have and what we're capable of. And a lot of us hold on to mantras from being young. I mean, really little, that maybe a teacher gave you, a peer gave you, a parent, a coach, a mentor, anything, right? And you hold on to that. It's typically negative, and you hold on to it forever. It's so deep-rooted and deep-seated that some people don't even know what it is. Like, I have to draw it out of them, because some people are like, I don't have that. Pretty much everyone does. That holds you back. And what's so interesting is that it will go from literally like the job you have to where you live, the friends you have, what your dating life looks like, whether it's good or bad, right? And then kind of from that, it shapes your entire life. So I work with a lot of my clients on taking that mantra, identifying it first, because some people know, some people don't. I've always known mine. Not that it's good, because it's not, which I can give an example for if you want. So I had to take my own mantra, identify it first, right? Take it, divorce it, like completely get rid of it. Kind of like do that, you know what I mean? And like swallow all of that, and then move into like a new mantra that actually serves me. Because if you look at the mantra too, it's like if you were given that when you're 10 and let's call you 35 now, that's like 25 years stale of something that doesn't really even apply to you anymore because you're a kid, but you're still taking it on as an adult, and you're not valuing yourself as much. And you can get as many compliments as you want from other people. I don't care what money you make, what you look like, whatever. If you don't feel good about yourself, you're playing less than. And I'm so sick of people living a mediocre life. I did. Part of my story, which I didn't really share, is that I became my own client. And it was really, when I just was dating a bunch of, jerks and losers and not feeling good about myself. And I just didn't like my life. And I looked at it as like, how can I help other people? I feel like such a fraud if I can't help myself. Like, this doesn't make sense. It's not fair to me. It's not fair to my clients because I'm not showing up 100% and not really even doing what I'm telling them to do, right? So I started putting myself through my own program, which sounds a little weird because you kind of have to step outside of yourself and coach yourself, right? But I held myself accountable. I did everything that, I have of my clients do. And I very quickly changed my life because I demanded respect from people, because I changed my mantra, because I decided I didn't want this life anymore. I wasn't a happy person. And by nature, I'm not the most positive person, right? But I realized that that's not a person I want to be anymore. And my old mantras, which were, because I've been through a lot in my life, that I was sort of too damaged to be loved by anyone, and that I was the pretty one and my brother was the smart one, because I was frankly given that by other people. The damaged one was probably a little bit of both, a couple of early boyfriends who weren't so nice, and then also me, right? But then the other mantra, which is so interesting because oftentimes too, like I'll call my clients out once we identify theirs and I'll say like, is that really even true? And we know it's not. And the reason mine isn't is because, I guess when I graduated college, for example, people asked me if I was going to work for my brother. Ouch. So he's an entrepreneur as well, right? So we've just been compared and he's always kind of done more than me, right, in the spotlight. So I was always compared to him, which is kind of interesting. And then, but when I look at it, I did better in school than he did, both undergrad and grad school. So to say that he's smarter than me, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, one could beg, the question that maybe that's not so true. And when I took that back and didn't even compare myself and said what those people are saying doesn't really matter, and I took on, my own value and my own mantra myself, I started to really enjoy dating for like literally the first time in my life. I kind of dreaded it, and most people do, and it's not a good mentality, or thought to have. Right. But some people do. Like, people are like, oh, I got to go back out again. It's like that kind of feeling, that dread, that like crappy feeling. So when I went back out, I just, if I went out with a guy, which here and there they'd kind of fall through the cracks. You go out with a not nice guy, you just don't go out with them again instead of making excuses. Those people did all the time. I wouldn't go out with them again, So basically, I ended up going out with nice guys, and I just sort of finished my story. Within 2 months, I started dating a really great guy, and about a year and a half later, we're still together. And I've changed my entire life because I up-leveled my life. And I a lot of like the spiritual stuff was a little like woo-woo, like rah-rah for me, because I'm like a very realistic New Yorker. So I was like, I know about all this kind of stuff. But I kind of take what I can do. And like you and I have spoken about that, like being as positive as you can, like showing up for your clients, being like a happy person and showing gratitude for the things you do have, even on a crappy day where like not but I'm better for myself and better for my boyfriend, and I'm a better daughter and a better friend. And you know what I mean? Like I'm just a happier person. So I've changed my life and my business is better and everything's better. I really noticed in doing that, I kind of became a believer because I did it myself. And I see that it's hard work. Like confidence is a muscle. It's not something that you sort of turn on and off or in 1 second, like boom, like I'm confident. Wow. It's a gradual thing, but if you put in the work, your life reflects that. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, I loved everything that you shared about that, especially about the mindset, because I'm all about mindset. Our mindset is like, it's 99% mindset and 1% action. It's like, it's just a little bit of action, but everything else is like, for me, being like aligned and passionate and having a vision and being pulled by that vision rather than like drudgery and hard work. So I love how you were sharing that. And then also how it's really confidence that really everyone is looking for. Like people want to feel confident. They want other people around them to make them feel more confident. And oftentimes we'll look to outside sources and stimulation and authorities for that validation. And I love how you teach your clients to create that, generate it from within so that they can go live the life they want. Whether or not they land the girl doesn't matter, girl or guy, it doesn't matter. Right? It doesn't matter because they are in love with themselves. And I'm talking about that in like 45 minutes. So it's awesome. And I had a question, or did you want to say something about that?
No, go ahead. I can talk forever, but go ahead.
Okay. So I was just going to ask, in terms of mindset, when people first start out, let's say they're really stuck or like the worst place where people can start at with their mindset, where do you start with that? Like, what do you coach people on? How do you get them past that?
Sure. So this is actually a really good question. So when I first started my quest and realized how important confidence was, because I guess naively I didn't realize. I mean, obviously everyone knows it's important, right? But I didn't know until I really got into the minds of all my clients. And the more clients I had, the more numbers I had, which means I, market research like my clients all the time, and all the time too, because I want to know how I can best serve them and how I can help them, right? So I have, even data coming in right now that I got today. And there's a lot of parallels, and obviously a huge one is confidence. So I started looking up online, like what is out there on confidence? I'm curious, right? So I started looking on, all different types of things on Google. I was just sort of like, stalking Google. And I saw that so much of it is just fluff, and it's garbage, and it's not true, and it's just sort of so trivial. And it's like positive thinking, it's like no one knows how to do that. Right. And it just really, like scientifically, it's actually proven to not work, right? Because like as a therapist, which I'm trained to be, I can't just be like, think positive today. You know what I mean? Right. Shove someone out the door. It's like, it doesn't really work that way. It's not that easy, right? So I have to work harder, both between telling my client and setting them up, like, I'm going to give you exercises every week. Your results are based on how much work you want to put into this. So it is work. I'm not a doctor. I don't sit and cure you. I can't give you an antibiotic and you're perfectly fine. And I've been through this myself. Like I literally was my own client for months. So like I know what it takes, and it's work. It definitely is work, but you're undoing and then in turn redoing a lot of damage that you've done to yourself. People don't realize how mean they are to themselves. So like, for example, even just being more mindful of and aware, it's like one of the first things I tell my clients about what you're saying to yourself, because you have your own thoughts. There's just thoughts firing all day, and you're by yourself typically, right? And no one else knows what thoughts you're having. So you're sort of the gatekeeper of the thoughts that you have. So like, for example, when I would do something, I'm hard on myself, right? I'm very much of a perfectionist. So like whenever I do something, if I just like drop something when I'm cooking or whatever it is, I'll be like, oh, you're so stupid. That's do. And then I started thinking to myself, well, first of all, like your brain just files that away. It's not really operating of the assumption of like, oh, I just made a mistake, so like no big deal. It like will file that away to be like you're stupid.
As evidence. It's like building a case.
Exactly. And that's like sort of more of a negative person, which I am by nature. That's kind of what collects. I'm like, your brain loves that because it fits into your line of like understanding of yourself. That's how you feel about yourself. So when you feel good about yourself, which is good on the opposite spectrum, you start looking for those good things to like fill in those holes, right? So when I would say that to myself, I thought to myself, wow, like I'm really mean to myself. And like, would I say that to a friend if I were cooking with a friend and she dropped something on the floor? I'm going to be like, wow, that was stupid. You know what I mean? Like I would never say that to them. And it's not because I'm thinking it, but like, I don't want to say it to her. It's because I don't really think she's stupid for dropping it. It was a mistake. It was an accident. She just dropped something. It's no big deal. Right. So the way that we talk to ourselves, because that's what you're really held responsible in doing all day, every day. I'm not going to be there every day in your brain. I'd love to, but can't. Haven't figured that one out yet.
Not yet.
Give it time. But, because like you're responsible, for your actions every single day, it's about being kinder to yourself. And it's about, another thing that I love to give my clients is a visualization. So every night, which I kind of prefer it at night, like 10 minutes or so before you go to sleep, you close your eyes and you look at your life as an already imagined place that you're at, which is like everything you want in your life. I don't care where you are now, right? It's wherever you want to be, whatever you want your life to look like. And no one can say what that is for you. And whether that's the partner that you have and what they look like and what your life is with that person, and, what kind of job you have and where you live. And, do you live in a huge, beautiful home because that's important to you? Or do you live in like a modest home and it's beautiful and that's cool too? Right. So like, what does your life look like? And almost being sort of a camera, like on your head, right? Just like this, and kind of like looking through your life. And what does it look like? And you can get really lost in the details. And that kind of has your brain rewire so that because you've already convinced yourself that this is my life now, you actually start living that life. Just like if you were business owners and people say like when you first start out and, you haven't gotten that far yet, dress the part, like get your suits from Walmart. It doesn't even matter, but like dress the part, have your briefcase, like have your thing for the day. Like even if you don't really have anything like to do that day, right? Like have your agenda for the day. Like pretend you're like full of clients. Like what will you be teaching them? Like live the life that you want to be living. And it sounds a little like, again, like woo woo. Cause at the beginning I was like, kind of like, does this really matter? But it's huge. And what I realized isn't so much that when I was doing it was when I wasn't doing it. So there were times where I just like got really caught up in clients. Like I work a lot, whatever it is, like life circumstances, whatever, or just for a few days, I kind of slipped because I do a lot of things every day. So there's times where I just can't do everything I want to be doing. Right. And I noticed, I'm like, why am I just like not myself? And even like my boyfriend may say something, you know, he's like, you're just kind of like not yourself. And I'm like, okay, well, what's going on? Like, what's different? Like, why is this happening? I'm like, I wasn't doing all the work that I should be doing. So it's more like when I see that absent that I see more probably of the goodness than when I actually do it. Because I think when you do it and you see good things happen, you can say it's something else. You could, you know, kind of put it towards something else. Be like, oh, you know, I worked so hard for this, or, you know, but when you put out in the universe and you show gratitude, it doesn't really give room for the crappy stuff because bad things happen all day, every day, right? But so do good things. Yes. And when you're focusing on the negative, which I was basically amazing at, I used to like focus on all the crappy things instead of looking at the good things. And so now when I have just like a bad day where a lot of things are going on, I'm not going to say I'm like magically amazing at it. No one is, right? But like I take that and I'm like, okay, this is not a good moment, but I'll literally grab my gratitude journal and like start writing things that I have a lot of gratitude about. And it just shifts my focus. And I feel like the universe appreciates things like that. Like there's just something to be said for that because there's certain moments that I've gotten like 6 clients in a day and I'm like, well, how did that happen? You know what I mean? Like one-on-one clients. And I look and it's like something happened like either that day, maybe even the day before, but something happened where I had a boost of confidence, where I had a really great session with someone, or, you know, something really amazing happened, or it was like really just like on fire. And you're kind of on this different level that I can't really explain, but you're just working differently. You know what I mean? You're appreciating everything in your life more. You're just a happier person. And then being happier things start to occur because you want to kind of keep yourself in that place. And then in turn, happy people attract other happy people, which is a really benefit both with your friends. And, you know, that's when you notice often too, like my clients will say, like, as I'm sort of transforming and changing, I'm sort of outgrowing certain people. And I'm like, and that's okay. You know what I mean? Like, that's going to happen. And you're going to need a shift from certain people and say, like, I'm a different person now. I need different things from you. Or you get rid of the person depending on kind of who they are and what they mean to you and all that. But you'll start to see that shift, right? And so when you do that, you start to attract other people. So, you know, bringing it to dating, you start to attract someone who's really doing the same thing. Like people value people who value themselves. So like the way I look at it with my clients is like, let's say I'm selling TVs, right? Like I'm working at Best Buy, I call it, and I'm selling TVs. And, you know, this TV, it's like kind of shitty. It's older. I don't really like it. It doesn't work that well, but this is what I was assigned to sell, right? So I'm like, Chris, like, do you want this TV? Like, it's whatever, you know, and I like give its features, but like, you can tell I'm not really into it. I'm not really selling it because I think it's a piece of crap. I don't think it's a nice TV. You know what I mean? And when you watch your football Sundays, you're not really going to appreciate this TV the way that, you know, like you should. Like it's false advertisement. Like I know I don't like it. So why would I sell it to someone else? Or you have a TV that's like LED, like it's top of the line, like it's 56 inches. Like, you know what I mean? It's like what everyone is lusting after. And you're like, I want one. You know what I mean? I'm saving up to buy one. There's a different passion. Like you come with something different. You show the value. A person feels it. Both literally and sort of figuratively, like it's a conscious thing and the subconscious thing that you're putting out those vibes. So when you value yourself, like people are into that. It's like, why does this guy like himself so much? Like he sounds so happy and like his life sounds really cool. Like I want to be a part of that. And like that person is assuming that the feelings that you're giving them and the experience you're giving them is something that they're going to get over and over with you. And you stand out in that way because unfortunately most people are super negative and not happy and just kind of living life, you know, and living in mediocrity, frankly. Most of us feel I was, you know what I mean? And so when you don't do that anymore, and again, like you up level your life, and it's a choice. Every morning you have to make this choice. You know, it doesn't just come. Like it is a choice, and you set your intentions for the day because it's like funny when you wake up to like a bad email or something bad going on. It like sets the tone for the day. You're just like in a crack all day. But the same thing happens when you decide differently to sort of flip it on its head and say, today's gonna be a great day and da-da-da, you know, and you set your intentions for the day and your purpose and you have gratitude and you feel really good and you like what you see in the mirror and, you know, you're just feeling really good. It's a different type of day and you're showing up differently and you're going to make more money that way and you're going to be happier and you're going to have better people around you. And do you find that? Because again, I know you and I really connect on that level.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I find that when I am feeling my best, I'm able to give the most value to other people. I'm able to make the most impact. And what I've also found is that what fulfills me in this lifetime is making that impact, adding value. If we make it all about us, I find that we can tend to like get stuck in our own world. But when we come from a place of service, then it really, really expands like who we know ourselves as, and we feel good about ourselves. We get acknowledged. People say thank you. So that's been really huge for me personally in evolving my mindset. So I love that. And I also love how you said, basically what you focus on expands, right? Whatever you put your attention towards will grow. If you want to be negative, that'll keep developing that, and most people have been programmed from birth for a lot of negativity with the media, with education, parents, family, whatever, relationships. And if we want a higher quality of life, we have to choose what we focus on day after day after day after day, every morning, making that same decision, that same commitment, that same choice of the type of lifestyle that we want to live. So I'm totally in line with that. It's awesome.
Infectious. You know what I mean? Like the few times you and I have spoken on the phone, like I get off the phone, I'm like, oh, I feel really good. You know what I mean? Because you just want to be around other people who are happy and positive too. Why would you not? So it's the same thing with dating when you're showing up differently and really have a lot to offer someone and you know that, that's really important. And I think a lot of my clients who are kind of tend to be sort of like a quieter, shyer type of person, I think they look at confidence as a bad thing because I think they think cockiness. And there's such a huge difference. There's such a huge disconnect in that. And I think a lot of my clients say well, I don't want to really be that confident guy because that's like the asshole who takes the girls, that deserve to be with me, but they're taking them away. And, it's giving yourself permission to say I am awesome. I'm not the most awesome person that exists on this planet. I'm not better than anyone, but I am awesome. And so are you. And that's cool. You know what I mean? So it's valuing yourself and saying it's okay to brag a little bit and feel really good about yourself and you know what I mean? But not be overly ridiculous, because no one appreciates that. But it's about, having that confidence and having that, that line there that's drawn because again, a lot of those people say it's from 1 to 60. That's not exactly what we're doing here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I've also found that when we love ourselves, right? A lot of self-love, we can be with whoever anybody else is, and it's totally cool, I could talk about myself if you want, or we could talk about you. I love myself, and I don't need this in this conversation to express to you how much I love myself or how awesome I am. I already know it, and if it comes up, if you ask me questions, then I'll answer. I'll be like, I'm the best, I'm the one. I kick ass. And if you want to focus on you, I'm more than happy to do that because I got plenty of self-love and love for others. So that's another thing that I've found is when you're asking questions, when you're engaged, not from an interrogation point of view, which I know some men might come from, just barrage of questions, So I would also love to hear your thoughts about that. How do you train your clients to come from a place of a balance of the conversation? How do they know how much to give, how much to take, how much to flow with the conversation?
So a lot of, especially guys, even more than women, tend to have a fear of just talking. You know what I mean? Say what if there's a breaking conversation? And it's well, first of all, that happens naturally, so that's fine. And there's not going to be a 10-minute awkward silence where you're just kind of okay. Cool. And you're just kind of looking at each other. I mean, you don't know anything about each other. There's so much to talk about, right? So if there happens to be a moment of silence, if you're eating or whatever, which happens, typically one person will kind of talk and one person will eat and then you kind of switch, right? So that'll happen a little bit naturally. But if, for whatever reason, there's a moment of silence, take that moment instead of freaking out, because that's what guys do. They're I don't know what to do, whatever. So they start saying something that doesn't fit. You know what I mean? They'd be I bought a new hat today, and you're okay. You know what I mean? It's just something that totally doesn't fit, and someone else is oh, all right. So instead of filling it in with just anything that comes to your head because you're panicking, you're literally panicking at that moment, right? Yeah. Instead of doing that, take that moment, because sometimes it's just a lot of stimulus and you both just kind of need a second to just kind of come down for a second and then come back in, right? So it's not necessarily a bad thing. is like take the moment and just smile at her.
Yes.
Kind of like that, like half smile and just smile at her because you can gauge her that way. So A, you're kind of creating a connection in that moment, and B, you're really able to see a little bit better like what's happening here. Is she smiling back? Is she in this moment with you? Or is she kind of like not having it? Because that's a really good way to know. So like a lot of guys say, I don't know how to read her. It's like there's certain things that you can do to put out there and see what you get back. Because a lot of guys aren't good at just like reading body language, and some women can be very hard to read too. I was actually one of those people that so many guys said to me, like, I cannot read you at all. And sometimes it was because I really didn't know how I felt. So it was like, that makes sense. You know, I wasn't sure. You know, I'm a little like guarded, a little like, I don't know who you are yet. I'm sort of figuring things out. You know what I mean? So I think when you put yourself out there in some of those moments, I don't think that's a bad thing. And I think a lot of people say like on a first date, like don't, you know, when it comes to like talking and whatever, kind of like bring up like the interview questions. And like, of course they're going to come up like, where do you live? Where are you from? How many siblings do you have? What do you do? Like that's naturally going to come up unless you know that ahead of time, which depends. I typically like my clients to screen and kind of talk on the phone first, especially if it's like a setup or an online date or something, because it could be that you guys just don't gel and don't jive. And so it's not really worth wasting both of your time. Right. So kind of like 20, 30-minute call. Like I do like to do that typically with my clients, but, and kind of get those like, you know, those sort of like info, you know, interview questions out of the way. Right. And then a lot of guys say, well, I asked everything I need to know. Like, what else do I ask her then? I'm like, are you serious? Like, you've never met this person. There's so many stories to tell and like things to connect on. And I think a lot of guys especially are afraid to reach out and actually open up on a first date. And I'm not saying that you should share your deepest, darkest secrets and like whatever. That's not what I'm saying, right? But I do think that connecting on some level about something that's more meaningful than just kind of the trivial garbage, you know, that we share, that like, it's important to know those things, obviously, like the little, like, you know, what do you do? Where are you from? You know, all those things. It's important. But typically if you're doing a screening call, you kind of got those questions out of the way. So now it's time to really see, like, do I connect with you? Like, do I want to go on a second date with you? Do I like you? If you're just asking sort of like surface level, go ahead.
I was going to say real quick, because we got Mike who said there's a difference between confidence, which is valuing yourself, and cocky, which is better than others. So I just wanted to let you know that we do have some comments coming in here, and Janelle and Sarah, thank you everyone who's tuning in. If you're enjoying this, type in Diana, because she is rocking it and bringing tons of energy and great information right now. And I also wanted to say, in terms of asking questions, like, how do people connect? Like, because there's the surface level questions, which is the background questions, but like, what are the questions that have people know what others value and is important to them? Like, what do you recommend your clients ask about that?
Sure. So I think it's, first of all, it's just not being afraid to ask those questions. I think a lot of people are, where they think, you know, the first date, it's like you have to have this mask on and you have to be this like perfect person and like not really show who you are, which is frankly kind of stupid. You know, I look at it, it's like, let's fast forward and show your real self, because they're either going to like that and connect with it or they're not. And that's okay. You know what I mean? Like, don't be afraid of that, because you're not going to be everyone's slice of bread. Like, you're just not, right? So like, you need to be you, because you're going to be you all throughout. And so if you're not liking each other, it's not connecting now, then it's just not going to work later. And that's okay, right? So something you could ask, like we're on a date right now, would be like, what's one thing you've always wanted to do but you haven't done yet?
Ooh.
That's a cool question. You know what I mean? Or here's another good one. If you could be anywhere with anyone right now, who would it be and what would you be doing?
Wow.
That's right. Like, those are cool questions. Like, because that will, so a lot of guys, you know, sort of bring back to the first question is like, what do we talk about? It's like, there's so many things to talk about, and there's interesting questions to ask someone, because when they respond with their thing, like they'll say, for example, like, dead or alive, and you'd be like, oh, like they could be a dead person. And like, my grandmother, because she meant so much to me when I was young, and I really miss her so much, and I wish, you know, that I could check in with her and, you know, tell her about my life and see what she's thinking, and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And it's like, really, like, I lost my grandmother too, you know, and it's like having that kind of connection and having that conversation. There's so much to talk about, and not just that surface level stuff that like you need to get out of the way. But like I said, that should be in the screening call. Now it's time to like get to real life stuff. And like I said, you should ooze out like all your garbage. Like, we all have baggage, and like, you shouldn't just throw it up, you know what I mean? And just share everything. That's a little much. But opening up and sharing, you know, makes you both comfortable. You see that you tend to have a lot in common. Oftentimes, like, what your struggles are, so are mine, or I could equate it to something that's similar, you know, that I've been through. Maybe like loss is loss, right? Unfortunately, we've all been through it, right? So it's like it's that realness, that genuine thing that I think is missing, you know, in dating. Like when you see dating stuff on TV, which I watch a lot of it because this is what I do, right? So I watch a lot of it. My poor boyfriend, right, has to like Bachelor, all this stuff. So like when you look at these things, it's like people are craving connection, but you're not really seeing it happen all that often. So you walk away from that date with me being like, wow, like I really know a lot about her. And with that information, you can then say like, I do want to go out with her again, or I don't. The worst thing is to go home and be like, did I learn anything about this person? You know what I mean? Because that's what happens a lot, especially like dating in Manhattan, which I did. It was a lot of surfacey stuff we were talking about. Shit that like doesn't matter. You know what I mean? So it's about, you know, going on some of those semi-deep questions and getting a conversation from that and learning from each other to see like, is this something that I want to do? Like, is this someone that I could see myself with? And you're not going to have a complete answer to that, but you could at least say like, yeah, I want to go on a second date. And a dating tip is in 3 to 5 dates, you absolutely should know how you feel about the person. I'm not saying that you have a future that you know exactly where you're going, but you do know whether this is something you want to take more seriously or whether this is just unfortunately not the right person for you. And a lot of people will sort of sit in that 3 to 5 and stretch it really far, you know, months and kind of sit on it. And it's like, you do or you don't. You like them or you don't.
Do you think that people like want it to work out because they're like hoping and they're like maybe a little bit desperate? They're like, I just want someone.
A lot of times, and I've been guilty of this, is like square peg round hole, where it's like the person's close to what you want, but they're not exactly what you want. And there could be like that hole, whether it's like a gaping hole or like kind of like a little small hole. If it's something that's really important to you and they don't quite have it, you can't like shove that piece in, you know what I mean? To like try to make it fit because it's close. Maybe they're not for you, and that's okay. And it is frustrating and it's hurtful when someone's like very close to what you want and not totally. If they're far off, it doesn't matter. You're not going to have that feeling, right? But if there's like certain elements that are coming through, you're like, wow, like I really connect with this person. But, you know, for whatever reason, like this deal breaker of mine, like I don't like people who smoke cigarettes, right? Let's just say like, you're like my dream guy. You have every quality I want. Like I'm so happy with this, right? But then you smoke cigarettes and you just happen to like mention that. It's like, ooh. You know what I mean? So at that point, people can be like, oh, I'll get him to quit. I'll get him. No problem. You know what I mean? So it's like, how do you convince yourself of certain things? Because you're like, this is my guy. Like, this is my perfect guy. And listen, if he's willing to quit and saying that, that's a little different.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But if you're been smoking for 20 years and like you're a lifer, like you're going to die with a cigarette in your mouth, you know what I mean? At whatever age. Like, it's just not going to happen. You know what I mean? So that means either I have to say it's okay that he smokes, or we figure out some sort of schedule with your smoking where it's just not around me, or we say, like, it's just not the right fit, you know, and that's okay. So I think a lot of people, it's a square peg round hole problem.
With your clients, do you encourage them to communicate and ask, like, is this something you'd be willing to change? Like, they ask their potential date or dream guy. Do you encourage that?
I do. I don't know if on the first date I would say something like that. I think it's a little aggressive. You know what I mean? If that's something, especially they've done for a long time, I think that's a little much. But I do think that after kind of like the 3 to 5 date thing where you really have like a nice idea whether this is someone you want to date more seriously, if there's like a deal breaker type thing in the mix, because you can also see that the opposite happens where sometimes what you're saying, people kind of stay too long. Sometimes people just kind of cut people off just like immediately, and maybe they shouldn't have, whether it's on assumption or whether it's based on, you know, just certain ideas that you think that you have or something someone said. Go on that second date and discover a little bit more about that. You know, take that time between the first and second date to kind of let everything sink in, the good, the bad, you know, everything that went on. And you know, if there's any sort of like red flag type things where you're like, I don't know about that. I don't know if I love that. Then go in, you know, on that second date and talk to that person about it a little bit. You know, like if, for example, you don't like a person who's a partier, I didn't. If someone mentioned they partied, you know, the weekend before, instead of being, oh, he's a partier, I'm done with him. Instead, you know, is that something you regularly do? Because maybe it was like a bachelor party, something he does twice a year. That's not a big deal. You all need to like let loose, right? So, or is it something that like every weekend he's going to expect to be like on tabletops and drunk and whatever, you know, that doesn't align with you. It doesn't align with me. If that's not your jam, that's cool, but like find out enough information to know that, because you could be cutting people loose who could actually be really good fits for you, but you're just filling in information that really never happened. Because I could have said in my mind when you said that you were like partying that weekend, oh, he's a complete partier. I'm sure he does this and this. And you start building up this like whole story that never actually happened. And maybe it is that like, again, it's, that twice a year kind of thing where you just kind of go out with your boys and have a good time. And like, you're obviously more than entitled to do that. So I think people can kind of go both ways where, it can be sort of like you try to convince yourself of things, or you can be like, I don't like this, I'm jumping ship. It's like, it's okay to ask questions and ask a little bit more about something. And once you get the information and you feel really good about what you need to know, then base the idea off of that and say, yes, no, maybe so, that kind of thing. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And let's see, we had a lot of people joining. So if you're enjoying this, oh my gosh, this is great. We're mastering the art of relationships and dating right now with Diana Mandell. This is so great. So Diana, what else do we need to know about mastering this art of dating and relationships? What else do you feel like people need to walk away with before the end of this interview?
So a lot of people say that they don't understand the opposite sex. And it's seen more so that men don't understand women, but trust me, women don't understand men either. This is attention. I actually just did like a recent video on this. So what it is there's not any one line or any one thing that anyone can say to you that like all women or all men like, because there's no universal thing. So typically we all want the same things, but it's going to be in a different value ladder. So like my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 could be yours like 3, 2, 1, 4. You know what I mean? So it's like typically they're going to be quite similar. We all want generally the same things, but it could be in different order in terms of how they value it. So one girl may want to be approached in like a funny, witty type of way. So for me, that's like my jam. Like humor, it's like forget it, right? Like anyone who makes me laugh is like my friend automatically, right? So for me, it's humor. And yeah, I do like kindness. Obviously, the guy's a jerk. He's not going to like get anywhere, right? But there's some women who don't really care as much about humor. Like it's on their list, but it's a little farther down. It's maybe like number 4. For them, it's like having like an adventurous side to him or something like that, and loving the idea of hiking and, being, going outdoors. And that's not really my thing, right? So everyone's going to sort of value different things in a person. So in understanding someone, it's understanding that one person and understanding more about them. So where I equate it is, it's a little corny, but it's like baking a cake, right? So let's say you and I are on the first few dates and you're trying to understand me and get to know me. And so through time, automatically, you're obviously going to learn about someone. You're going to know what makes them, tick, what pisses them off, what makes them happy, what freaks them out, all that kind of stuff just naturally as you get to know them and see their patterns and see how they experience certain things and how they react to certain things, right? So you're going to naturally just with time get to know someone better. That's how relationships work. But it's like when I say the cake idea, it's like your responsibility is learning to bake my cake and my responsibility is learning to bake your cake. So you put in a bunch of, like you're like, I kind of like think I know how to make a cake, right? So like you're not looking at a recipe. So you don't, it's like, you kind of like your flour, your eggs, your mix. So you're kind of like, you kind of know, right? Like you kind of know the ingredients. So you're getting it together and you bake a cake and you try it and it's like, it's good, but it's not great. It's missing something. Okay, like what is it missing? It needs a bit more flour. It needs another egg. You do it again. You bake the cake again. It comes out. You try it. No, like now I put a little too much flour in. So again, it's all about experimentation. And so you're learning that person and you're not always going to get it right. But when you know how to read someone, you anticipate their needs, their wants, what they're afraid of, what they're going to do, their defense mechanisms, all that kind of stuff. So the more that you read someone and the more you understand someone, which takes effort and time, and that's part of the problem. People don't necessarily do that so well. But if you're really interested in one person, getting to know everything you can about them, like getting your hands on any kind of information you can to kind of fill in that cake and make the perfect cake, you get to bake it every time because you know the ingredients. And from time to time, you're going to obviously need to like rework the cake a little bit. It's not tasting as good or, because obviously things happen in people's lives and we're going to need different amounts of support and, different things like, through the months as things change. But generally speaking, when you truly understand what someone needs, it's going to be specific based on that person. You can generally come in, like if you're a nice person, you're making them comfortable, you're making them laugh, and that's on both sexes. You're doing a good job, you know what I mean? But again, to really get to like the nitty gritty of that person and truly understanding them, there's nothing better than, again, like baking that right cake and taking that time that's needed to just get to know them in and out.
Wow, that's awesome. Then it also sounds like once you figure out the recipe, the formula, you can do it again and again and again, right? And exactly. It like you said, it takes time. You're going to say something?
Yeah. So something that's really important about that is, because when I explain this to my clients, some of them will get the sort of wrong idea that what Diana wants and what Carla wants and what Rachel wants and what Lindsay wants is not necessarily the same thing. So as you start a new relationship with someone, unfortunately, the cake is mashed. You got to start making that cake again. You know what I mean? So, and that's sexually too, emotionally, physically, all that kind of stuff. People are not going to want the same things. Right. And again, because of that value ladder, people are going to value and be attracted to different things slightly. And so with that, you kind of, unfortunately, it sucks, but you do have to start over. But there's also like, though there's energy and time in that, there's also a lot of goodness in that, because that's actually really a lot of fun. You know what I mean? Like getting to know someone new and learning like their buttons and like learning like how to, get to know them and, how they work. Like it kind of is fun. Like baking a cake, it's like annoying, you know what I mean? But it tastes good. It's fun to do it. Like you kind of have a lot of fun with it. So look at it that way, not like, fuck, I have to start over, this sucks, but actually like be excited about it, because it is really fun to get to know someone new. So that's just like something to be said that's really important, is that just because you make the cake once right doesn't mean it's going to happen again. You really do have to start over again.
Yeah, I love that. And I love how you said, like, when it's new, it's exciting, right? When you're first baking a cake, learning a recipe, doing something for the first time, sure, it might be like a little clumsy, but there's this newness. And I think people really love that new feeling. It's like the shiny object syndrome that's going on in society right now, especially entrepreneurs and stuff. Then we also had Mike Chasman say the 5 love languages. He mentioned that there's love languages that certain people respond to. You were saying the buttons to press that either turn people on or turn people off. We're trying to get under their skin. Like, this is Jarek, I'm going to get them.
Yeah, and I think with that, it's understanding like again how people tick and what they appreciate, because for me, I'm more of a little things person. So like, yeah, of course, like big gifts, occasionally, like for my birthday and anniversary, whatever, like that's always nice, right? A few times a year. But generally speaking, I like little things because I want to know that he cared enough to do something. Where like I wake up, and there's like a little cute note, or I come home and there's flowers, or on a random Tuesday he brought home my favorite dessert, like whatever it is.
Is your boyfriend watching this?
He's working, honey. No. Unfortunately, he's working. But he's really good at that, because he figured out what it is that I value and what I appreciate and what I like. And, important thing too is to share that, is not only to appreciate, but say like, I really, appreciate that you did that. And I love the little things, because when you don't say what you love, you can't really hold that person responsible for doing it again. And just like saying, the things that you don't like as much, you don't need to be a jerk about sharing what you don't like. But if someone says or does something that you don't like that hurts your feelings, or, whatever, it's important to say something. And just as it's important to say something that, someone did do, where maybe it's little and they didn't realize it was a big deal to you, but it meant a lot to you. So what's interesting about the love languages is maybe a little controversial. I don't know. I've never actually said this out loud, but I like knowing the elements of that. Like I need several of those things. Like it's not just one of those things that works for me where I'm like, oh, like I'm a verbal person, or like, oh, I'm a things person, or, for me, like I need sort of several of those things. And I'm okay to say that, like, maybe that makes me a bit needy. I don't know, but I want to give it too. And I'm okay with saying that, like, what I need is what I need for various reasons. You know what I mean? There's so much emotional stuff attached to all that, and like why we need what we need. And some people need more than others. So like, for example, a friend of mine, she and I were talking recently, she's married and has 2 kids. So she was saying that she asked her husband to be a little bit more romantic and sweet and, doing cute things. And he bought her a cell phone charger the next day. You know what I mean? But she's like, but you know what? He tried, and that's okay with me. Like for me, that doesn't work for me. Like I need more mush and like cuteness and sweetness, and that's okay too. Like, so what she needs and what I need are 2 different things. We're best friends, and we've been best friends since I think, 6th grade or something. Right. But like we both sort of value and need different things in a relationship, and there's nothing wrong with that. But asking for that and having a partner who's willing to give it to you is really important.
I got a question. What do you say to the people who say, I don't have enough time to date, or I don't have enough time to invest into relationships, but I want it?
Sure. So I do that all the time because I have a lot of entrepreneurial clients, and a lot of problems with entrepreneurs comes time management. So I have a client right now who has an issue with time management, and I have an issue with time management, frankly. And I was at a point in my relationship with my boyfriend early on where he's like, are you dating the computer or are you dating me? You know what I mean? So And fair enough, because I was, I probably, if he wasn't in my life, I wouldn't stop working. I'd sleep a few hours a night. Like I love what I do and I love serving my clients. And so you need to have those boundaries. If you don't have the time, but you want it, it's not that important to you. That's how I feel about it. If you really genuinely want something, anything, I don't care what it is, you have to make time for it. And when people say you don't have time for something, I know what that means. It's that it's not that important to you, right? So like someone calling me back, I'm so sorry I haven't called you back in weeks. I've been so busy. Like really in weeks, you haven't done anything in those weeks that like for 20 minutes that you just needed to do, or like wanted to do that wasn't work, or something specific you had to do. It's like you don't really value it that much. And I think a lot of people in the entrepreneurial world feel like they have to decide between like success or love. That's it. It's one or the other. And which is it for me? And that's not fair. That's not fair to you. It's about balancing both. And it's not easy to do. So I'm not saying it is like, it's a trivial, like easy thing, because I still struggle with it. And as I get more and more busy, my boyfriend knows like he's not an entrepreneur. I am. So there's that struggle. Like it's not necessarily a struggle, but it's about understanding both that he is a boss and he's got those demands and those issues to deal with. And I am my own boss and I have to kill what I eat. And, there's a lot of ups and downs, like being an entrepreneur, you go up, you go down, there's a lot of a lot of that. And so you're riding like that roller coaster, right? So it's like hard to totally understand each other because I haven't had a boss in years. So, and he hasn't had his own business, I don't think ever. So, I mean, it's difficult to kind of find, that balance and understanding each other and what your struggles are, because they're going to be different. But it's about finding both of those things. Like for me, it's never the right time to do anything. Whenever we wait for the right time to go to the gym and lose 20 pounds, it doesn't happen, because 2 years later, you're like, oh shit, I still need to do that. So it's about like really saying like, no, I need to do this,
Yes.
So if it's working, a few hours a day less to be actually go on dates and, be available. Like guys used to say to me when I had a few businesses, do you have time for me? And it was a very valid, fair thing to say. And I kind of felt a little threatened because they had to essentially sort of fight for like their attention, you know what I mean? Or fight for my attention. I mean, so it's not fair to them. Like they didn't sign up for that. Like that's not fair. So I looked at it as like, I need to make time for this and make sacrifice and not feel guilty about it. That's the other thing. Because it's happening in the beginning when he and I had that conversation where he's like, you really need to stop like dating your computer. I felt really guilty when I wasn't at my computer, because I felt like, I'm not pushing my business further. I'm not helping my clients the way I want to, because I really like to go above and beyond for my clients. If they want to date, I want to follow up with them. If it's their birthday, I want to send them a really cool card, so it's like I want to do things for my clients to show them my appreciation and this partnership that we have, right? So like I really love to go above and beyond. And so for me, initially when we had this conversation, I was like, I like really don't feel like I feel really weird. And I'd be with him, even for watching a movie, like whatever we were doing, going out to dinner, where I'd be like, oh my God, I'm not with my clients. Oh my God, and it like really freaked me out. Like it really was like a weird thing. And I had to like give myself the permission to be like, I need to have a life, because if I don't, I'm not going to be serving my clients the way I should. And that's not fair to them. I'm going to burn out. Like you can't do this day in and day out, just like work, because there are times where I just don't leave my office at all. You know what I mean? Like I just would stay in my office forever and like not see the sunlight for months. You know what I mean?
Yes.
To I think everyone for like an hour or 2 a day should do something that they love, whether it's reading a book, working out, doing like seeing a friend, going on a date, whatever it is. That's healthy. And it's okay to do that and give yourself permission to do it, because I assure you, you're going to be a happier person that way. So make the time, basically. Long story short, is make the time that's important to you.
Yeah, and it sounds like the balance is really important for you as well. And you saw what was happening when you weren't balanced, and you felt like, because I'm giving 100%, because like the time that I'm putting into it is like as much as I possibly can, then that must be the right formula for me to, bake a cake of happiness and success for my clients, and they'll love me and keep coming back and want to, continue and keep coaching. And you saw that, wait, if I indulge myself a little bit, if I take care of myself, give myself some self-love, then you found that you were actually able to be there more wholly and completely for them.
100%. And it's about, again, like not feeling guilty about it. And a lot of my clients who say like, oh, I don't have time for this. Like, I really want to like work with you, but like, I don't have time for this. I say like, what are you afraid of? Like, you're hiding behind your business as an excuse to not do other things. And it's not necessarily just pertaining to dating, it's pertaining to a lot of things in your life. We're just not dealing with other things, and you're kind of using, you know, your business as like a shield, as like a reason to not do certain things. And it is scary to put yourself out there. But it's okay to say that, like, I want to set this time out and I want to do this, and it's not using your business or being busy or whatever it is, you know, because we're all busy, you know, as a reason to not put yourself out there and not get what you want. Because you can have all the money in the world and all the success in the world, but unless you have someone to share it with, it's not really that great. I know a lot of people who are really successful and they're not happy because they're on their own and they have no one to share it with, and they come home to an empty, beautiful place, and it's not really very fulfilling. And when you die, you don't bring, you know, your riches with you. You don't bring your accolades with you. You really bring the memories that you had with people and the connections that you have. And then it's like really important, especially as an entrepreneur, to like keep that in mind, because I think money is like the goal, always the goal, you know, like it is, right? Because like we need to do that, right? We need to up level, like we need to do that. But we also need to like take a moment and breathe and like see what's around us, and making sure we're being like a good friend, a good brother and sister, you know, like a good partner, a good everything. Because if that stuff's not working, it's going to affect your business naturally anyway. So it behooves you, you know, to do really good things for yourself.
Yes. I love that word, behooves. I like that. That's good. Good word. Beautiful. Awesome. So we also had, we like to pretend, from Mike, we like to pretend we have multiple lives: work life, relationship life, personal life, etc. Sometimes we like to distract ourselves from what we don't want to have to deal with by getting busy with what we love, are good at, and do for others, which is exactly what you said. I love that. Thanks for the recap, Mike. It was beautiful. So, yeah. Diana, how can people continue their journey with you? Because I'm sure there's people who are listening right now. They want to improve their you know, their dating life, their sex life, their relationship life, their connection life, their meaning with others' life. How can people get more of that with you and stay connected with you?
Sure. So there's a lot of program offers that I have, which I mentioned a little bit in the beginning. So I have like one-on-one programs. I have unlimited like monthly email options. I have group programs. So I have a lot of different programs that will really depend on what your struggles are, what your goals are. So I really like to know a little bit more about you as a person and how I can best help you. So probably the best thing to do is to email my team at info@dianamandell.com and email my team, and I will take a look at that too. I typically will get forwarded those kind of emails and have a conversation with you and see, again, like what your goals are, what you're trying to do. It's not really one size fits all. You know, in the business world, I've had that happen to me and I don't really like it. So I use that, you know, to my advantage and say, like, you tell me, you know, how I can help you. And then based on like budget and time frame and what your goals are, challenges, all that good stuff, I really base a program around that, all of those kind of things. So reach out to me and my team, and I can come up with a really good plan for you.
And where will people be seeing you, and like what will you be up to? How can they, like, where will people be seeing you in the next couple of years?
Sure. So again, I want to be working with men and women kind of on the same level. Because again, I've been sort of gearing towards men for a lot of, you know, my time that I've been working. So I really been working with men and women. I'll probably touch in the relationship space a little bit, too. Just so that it's find love, keep love, right? So it's not just finding the right person, but it's keeping them too, because that's a whole other side of things that I'm finding that people are also having trouble with. You know, I help them find that girlfriend or boyfriend, but then it's like a hot mess in terms of like keeping, you know, the relationship and being in a really healthy relationship. So relationships are things too. And I'm just, you know, keep watching like info products and, you know, up leveling and helping my clients the best I can as I get to know them better and better and see what everyone's needs are. It's about helping as many people as I can with specifically like what their issues are.
Wow. Well, Diana, I totally can feel the sincerity and heart behind what you do, and I can tell that you love what you do. You love your clients, and you really do go above and beyond them, and I love your energy, and I love how passionate you are about all this, and thank you so much for coming on the show today and teaching our audience about these little details that make the world of difference, and I look forward to having you back on a future episode if that's something you're open to.
Yeah, I'd love that.
Cool. Very good. Well, you have the best day ever, and thank you so much, Diana.
Thank you.
All right. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.